people, how you doing? Welcome to episode 6 of 254 Rugby. We are previewing the Dala Sevens taking place this weekend in Kisumu City. And as always, this is Michael Kwambo. I am joined by Walter Orangi. Walter, how you doing?
I'm alright,
I'm
Mike.
alright,
How are
Mike.
you?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, it's been a good break wherever we are. Look, the Seventh Circuit has been in Nairobi, in the city of Nairobi. It has been in Kakamega town. I know watu wakati watajam tukita tao, lakini it is what it is. And this weekend, it heads to the cleanest city in Kenya. It
Yes.
heads to the city with the highest per capita PhDs in the country, the greatest city in Kenya. It's just 27 kilometers from my hometown. Um, the city that I love. You know, some of us don't like Nairobi, but to cut a long story short, Rugby Sevens heads home this weekend. Last weekend it was in Dala. Sorry, it was in Ingo. This weekend it heads to Dala. It's time for the Dala Sevens, and whoa, it looks like it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, there's
definitely.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
I mean,
a great
a great
city
city.
for rugby. It's a very good
A very good
destination for the
destination.
family. It's also
It's
very
also
good
very
for
good
the
for
family to leave
leave
Nairobi, just
Nairobi,
go out
just
and
go out
show off some
some
steam,
steam.
and
You know,
good to have best
there's
which is
is
enjoying rugby and eating fish. And I mean, it's a beautiful weekend. We're looking forward to it. Just rightly pointed out, it's one of the most learned cities in the country, and it's always a pleasure being in Kisumu, Michael.
Yeah, obviously, always a pleasure being in Kisumu. We usually spend a lot of time, and this is just a shout out to the guys in Kisumu: CK, the chairman, Gabriel Elizario, the vice chairman, Jay Cox, Ondieki, the radical. Anyway, let's cut with the placations and get down to the pools. The pools they are scrolling on the screen. Pool A, Queens Oilers, Strathmore. Let's just break it down quickly.
Today the Kenya Rugby, of course, released the pooling for this year's Dala Sevens, and the reaction has been a positive one. And of course, like you've just mentioned, Pool A, we have Kenya Harlequins, Oilers, Strathmore, and Mwamba. Now, I mean, looking at this pool, before we actually look at the rest of the pools, this looks like the most challenging pool over the next 2 days in Kisumu, simply because you have the winner of Ingo Sevens, that is Kenya Harlequins, in there. We have Menengai Oilers, who definitely will give anyone a run for their money. Then we have Strathmore Leos. Strathmore Leos is a very dangerous customer, considering they didn't have one of the best weekends in Kakamega. They played in the challenges category, the challenger series category. Of course, we also have Mwamba, who not only one of the local sevens powerhouses on a good day. Given a good day, Mwamba is a good sevens team, but also a team that is looking at least to build momentum towards their own host tournament. That is the George Mwangi Memorial Kabeberi Sevens. So Pool A, I mean, looking at that pool in itself, just on the outside, it's one of the most challenging pools over Dala Sevens in the next couple of days.
Okay, agreed. It's one of the most challenging pools in the Dala Sevens. But here, let's just call it for what it is. Who do you see making the quarterfinals from here?
This one is an interesting one, simply because, first and foremost, Michael, I'm made aware that some of the Kenya Sevens players will be making a return to their respective clubs. And you know what that means? It means that the competition for places among the first 13 players is going to be high. So that also means that we're going to have a quality field of play in Kisumu. So Kenya Harlequins, I mean, look like they have something going for themselves. They won the final of their own tournament. They went to Kakamega, won it at the home of Cabras. Now, this is the third time of asking for them to either challenge and stay up top in terms of the overall tally of the pools of the league standings. And I look at this pool and I see we have a returning lot of players. For instance, we have Dennis Abukuse, who's coming back for the Menengai Oilers. We also have George Ooro and Nijo Lamaita, who are coming back for Strathmore Leos. Mwamba itself has Tony Omondi. I'm not sure if he's going to turn up, but given that they have a green light to come through this weekend, and of course they need their big boys to come through. I feel like we're going to have a challenge for the top position. That is the number one and number two position. So I see Kenya Harlequins really have this pool for them to lose because they've been consistent. They've built some chemistry, and I'm thinking Paul Murunga will definitely have his job cut out. He knows his first 12, and definitely will be looking forward to challenging the rest in terms of that pool play. Kenya Harlequins look like they might get top, but I need to look at Strathmore and see the squad that will be named, and definitely that will be a determinant. But Kenya Harlequins look like they can be top of that pool. Coming in second, it's going to be a battle between Strathmore and, of course, the Menengai Oilers plus Mwamba. So, I mean, the business starts from match number one for all the four sides. And it's really a tough one for me to call this one, but I'll give Kenya Harlequins and Strathmore Leos for that top two
Top two
positions.
positions. Awesome, awesome. Now let's look at Pool B. KCB, Nondies, Black Blood, and Homeboys. KCB coming off the disappointment of losing in the Ingo Sevens final. Remember, they were leading 12-0, and then it just ran away from them, losing 17-12. Prior to that, they lost. They started the Christie Sevens by finishing fifth. Do you think this is the weekend when they actually get their campaign up and running, especially bolstered by the return of Vincent Onyala and Samuel Asati?
Yes, I strongly feel that they're building towards this one. The momentum has been. You look at their curve, the graph. The coach would be disappointed with the result from Kakamega, but looking at his charges, looking at the ones who are coming back in terms of the national team, Vincent Onyala is a leader and has been very, very instrumental for KCB over the last couple of years in terms of the sevens. And Samuel Asati, also very, very experienced and a very decent customer on that regard. I mean, Coach Dennis Mwanja has a challenge really in terms of choosing his first 12, or is it his first 13? But KCB headlining Pool B, challenging Nondi's Black Blood, and of course this other team, which is Homeboys RFC. I strongly feel like this is a KCB group for them to win. Coming in second would be a challenge between Kenyatta University and Nondes. So strongly, Nondes, who've been a consistent customer. They've played cup quarters for the last two legs, and should be looking forward to another opportunity to play in the cup quarters this coming weekend. They will always pose a challenge. Now, okay, talking about Black Blood, I had a chat with the coach, and he kept on saying that they've just been unlucky. Speaking of being unlucky, last weekend in Go, they had an opportunity to qualify for the cup quarters, but I mean, pool play did not really sustain because they were in a pool which three teams had two wins each. So it came down to the mathematics, and of course, they didn't really score much in one of their games. So it was an opportunity for them to drop down. So this is yet another opportunity for the coach, that is Geoffrey Ominde, sorry, Ominde Allen, to come through and try and push Nondes for that second spot. So I feel like KCB will top Pool B, and the battle of the second position will be between Nondes and Kenyatta University.
Okay, now let's look at Pool C. The myth of 650 years does not exist in sevens rugby. it was broken down haraka upesi. Kabras guys, poleni, but it is what it is. Anyway, Kabras in pool, Kabras in pool C with Must, Stallions, and Kisumu. How do you see this pool panning out?
Well, Pool C is an interesting one. Speaking of this specific pool, we have Cabras, Must, and Stallions and Kisumu. I mean, looking at the top position for that pool, there is a fight between Masinda Muliro and Cabras, which none of us really understands from the outside, but they understand what they fight for because they're neighbors, and it's always a very challenging game for Cabras when they come up against Masinda Muliro. And I mean, Coach Asila has always had one challenge, and that challenge has always been I have to beat Cabras, and it's good. It's good. It's very good for the game. It's healthy competition coming from one town which has lots and lots of rugby acumen in the town itself. So I believe this challenge is going to be posed to Cabras. Well, Cabras also have a couple of guys coming back. Brian Tanga is definitely available for selection. We also have Kevin Wekesa, who's coming back into the frame. And of course, I see that considering they didn't have the best of the best in terms of their own local event, that is their own tournament, the Ingo Sevens, they would really come out guns blazing this coming weekend. I'm thinking Felix Ayange will probably tweak it slightly kidogo, but the battle now goes down to those few opportunities that they get against Masinda Muliro. Would they take them? Masinda Muliro is an interesting customer. They have a challenge going up against Stallions. Stallions have they qualified for Ingo Sevens, and they also qualified for Dala Sevens Division One. So they are a team that can hold their own, they can hold their ground, and they can compete. And also we have Kisumu now, the hosts, definitely looking to put up a show in their own home tournament. So I believe it's going to be a challenge for Cabras to come out top of this pool. But that specific game against Masinde Muliro should be the most important game for Cabras this weekend. Once they get a win against Masinda Muliro, then they can be able to top that group. But it's a chance, it's an opportunity, and I feel like Masinda Muliro would also put up a good show in Kisumu. So top position, not sure yet, but I'm thinking Cabras and Masinda Muliro, and of course Stallions, who are that silent dark horse, would be challenging for that top
Top
two
two
positions.
positions. It's good you've talked about top positions. Maybe I'll just run it down for Pool A, B, and C because we'd already talked about them. My opinion, I think in Pool A it's gonna be Queens and Oilers. I think the quality that John Okoth brings to the Oilers is going to be a game changer because already there's a number of talented players that he is playing with, and Gibson Weru has this knack for mastering sevens, and he's got a young, decent squad who are not going to pull off the shenanigans that they pulled off in Kakamega. I remember that incident when Maura kicked the ball out. But away from that, I think it's Queens and Oilers from Pool A. I think from Pool B, it will be KCB and Nondis. I think those two teams will just have too much quality over Black Blood and Homeboys, but it will be interesting. In Pool C, it's the Kakamega boys, Cabras and Masinde Muliro, who will top the pool. I think Kisumu, the hosts, they enjoy playing at their home tournament, but I think they'll be out of their depth. The Stallions, well, they've been an interesting team to watch. They survived. I mean, they're still in Division One this weekend. A difficult customer, but I think at the end of the day, it's gonna be Cabras and Most. Now let's go into Pool D. And Walter, in my opinion, this is the pool of death. Nakuru, and then those guys, man, they refuse to go away. The Catholic monks, and then Daystar Falcons and Zetech. This group is open. That is my opinion, but it would be good to hear from you.
Yes, rightly pointed out, Michael. Pool D is one of those pools that you'd never ever call, given an opportunity to call, because we have three institution teams who are solid, considering they've they've shown us for the last couple of weeks who they are. Now let's break it down for our viewers and our followers. This pool has Nakuru, who are a decent side, and of course they'll be welcoming the return of Chris Ojuang from the national team. We also have Catholic monks who've not
Not
played
played
in
Walter,
the
in the
Challenger.
Challenger. You know, I like interrupting sometimes. I have to give a shout out to Chris Joang for one reason and one reason alone. Kakamega High School alumni. Anyway, tuendelee.
You had to bring that one up. Anyway, that's
That's
fine.
fine.
So yeah, Chris is coming back, and definitely, I mean, I saw him take charge of Nakuru last week. He was on the bench in terms of management, but considering his form going into the Olympics and how he was able to really, I mean, he's been consistent. You can tell that. His graph has been an upward trajectory in terms of growth, and he's definitely going to be that guy that Nakuru will look forward to and ask so much of him in terms of I mean leading the young charges. So and then we have the second team in that pool, that is Catholic monks, and we consistently talk about Catholic monks, but we rarely forget to mention that we actually forget to mention that these guys are no longer kids. We shouldn't talk about Catholic monks as one of those teams that is upcoming. Really, they've been at the top for the last two rounds, and I believe they've matured into this Dala Sevens, and I believe they will be up there with the rest. Now, Pool D also has Daystar Falcons. Now, Michael, Daystar Falcons is a funny one because they would be welcoming the return of Patrick Odongo. That's if he's fully fit. I had an opportunity to talk to him post the Olympics, and he told me he wasn't feeling that well because he had a couple of niggles, but he's had an opportunity to rest, and of course his team definitely needs him. So if he's anywhere near fit, he's one individual who will definitely come through for I mean Daystar Falcons, and having Patrick Odongo at Daystar means then the dynamics change because uh, Daystar have very big boys. They really play some decent sevens rugby, but they've been lacking that strike power that Patrick Odongo and Floyd Wabwire used to give them for the last couple of years. So I believe it's an opportunity now for them to show us what they have, and that's going to be an opportunity. And lastly, there is Zetech Oaks. Now, Zetech Oaks have just been promoted from Division Two, and they are a very very stubborn customer. I watched Zetech during the preseason play Daystar, and they beat Daystar in the final of the Met Sevens. They were the champions of the Met Sevens, and they've developed because once they won that tournament, they went into the Division Two category at Christie Sevens, which they won and then were promoted. Actually, no, they went to the Division Two category. They lost at Christie's, and then they went to Kakamega where they played in the Division Two category and won it against Kabarak in the final. So I'm thinking they have what it takes to play up top. I'm not sure if they have enough to challenge the big boys, but it's an opportunity, a grand opportunity for Ramsfield Matekwa and company at Zetech Oaks to challenge the top boys, that is Nakuru, Catholic monks, Daystar. It's a grand opportunity. It's a very open pool, rightly said, as you put it. So we're looking forward to entertaining rugby because it's also very good sometimes when you have a pool that is quite open like this one, because then everyone would think they have an opportunity and they would put their best foot forward. So it's exciting times for everyone who's coming through at Dala Sevens.
Absolutely. In some sad news, Walter, this is the first time I'm missing Dala 7 since 2009. Man, that's a one
No,
I
we
can.
will,
Hmm?
we will
We will
represent you,
represent you,
Michael.
Michael.
I know the Rapita yangu, lakini we will definitely represent you. That one, I will have fun for two this weekend for you, Michael. This is for you.
Now, let's talk about international rugby. Last weekend, I went to bed knowing the New Zealand versus Argentina game was gonna be a walk in the park. Lo and behold, aka, punde si punde. They ask Lunjes were guys who are brilliant with Kiswahili. Ilmuradi, and all those things. New Zealand lost to Argentina
Kwa
30-28.
minajili.
Manze, kuliendaje, man?
Yeah, that was I mean a surprise because I also had an opportunity to watch it for the first I think 20 or 30 minutes before I switched off to do something else. But I saw it. It was 28 at some point, and I thought, yeah, I mean, the All Blacks were playing at home. They have a new coach in front of their fans and all that. So yeah, like you said, everyone really thought that. The All Blacks were going to win this one by a big margin. But surprisingly, we had that shocker of the weekend. I mean, credit to Argentina. They played some solid rugby. I mean, they challenged the All Blacks. They made the All Blacks make mistakes. I remember there was a point where Damien McKenzie passed the ball back into his own, I mean, try line area and handed the opportunity to Argentina, who eventually took the lead. I mean, they consistently asked the All Blacks questions, but I also had a feeling that the All Blacks were slightly soft in terms of their forward play because many a times the All Blacks would ask your pack a lot of questions. That is at scrummage time and also at line out, which most of the time they set molds and they attack your front eight and they're ruthless in execution. But this time round, quite a number of things were not going right for the All Blacks. There was also that midfield partnership that wasn't working. They were greasing tackles. They were missing those attacking opportunities. And at some point, actually, they had an opportunity to either draw or take the lead because the difference was 5 points. They had a penalty. They kicked the ball down towards the Argentina try line, got a line out, but they couldn't execute that line out. So it is those small things that are lacking. And I feel like Coach Reza has an opportunity this weekend to make up for last weekend because it's an opportunity once again for him to go out and play against Argentina.
Awesome. Now, Australia versus South Africa. I think the result was always known, but let me throw in something. Sia Kolisi has been labeled fat, lazy by his French employers. But that's not what he was when he turned out for South Africa against Australia. No offense, no disrespect to Australia, but Sia Kolisi turned up on the day.
Yes. Michael, it's good you brought it up. I feel like the guys at racing really had so much in terms of hopes for that signing of Kolisi from the Sharks. I mean that was last season, and he, of course, had an opportunity to play for Racing, and they didn't win anything last year. I mean, they were challenged by the likes of Toulouse and company who are really good, and they couldn't keep up. But there's a difference, Michael. There's something different about the French rugby because the French rugby is more of a collection of superstars across the world, and it is a really tough league. You look at the physicality in the French top 14, and you compare that with other leagues. It's a big difference, and of course, Colisi as a human being cannot really carry the whole racing team over the line because you need the effort of around 30 plus. That is including the technical team and anyone who's on the bench. But now looking at the rugby championship result from match day one and how Sia Kolisi played, I'd give credit to coach I mean, our good friend from South Africa, who turns out as a water boy. Next time he turns up as a head coach. Next time he's turning out as a groundsman. But it's important to understand that he knows the kind of players he needs. But also look at how they played. They have so much in terms of tricks up their sleeves. They have Cheslin Colby throwing in the line out. They have Cheslin Colby feeding in the scrum. it is something you don't see most of the time, because in 15s you have the hookers throwing in the line out, and then maybe the scrum halves would just be behind the line out to pass the ball back to the running back line. But this time round, you have this coach who has a lot of mind games up his sleeves, and of course, Australia could not keep up the physicality, and most importantly, South Africa's defense. Michael, that goal line defense is something to really behold, because look at these guys. These are guys who you can't out muscle, you can't out scrum them, you can't really beat them at the line out. And now they've added that extra bit of being very very aggressive with their line speed and also their goal line defense. So that leaves an opportunity which is very minimal and very small for the opponents to capitalize. And you really need to be good on the day to compete against South Africa. So, looking at those results from match day one of the Rugby Championship, it is no surprise, but also it is one of those opportunities that South Africa had to tell Australia that we are the world champions. We've come to your home ground. We've not won here for the longest time, but it's time for us to come through and make a statement. And they did make a statement. A 33-7 win against Australia at home, a full stadium. It's also very important to note that rugby union is not dead in Australia, because they sold out the stadium, and it's important for them to build up on that momentum. I'm not sure about what they'll do on match day two, which is this coming weekend, but it's an opportunity for Australia to mend what broke last weekend. But it's going to be tough. I mean, the two coaches have named their teams. South Africa have made 10 changes this coming weekend. He's given an opportunity to the likes of Mgomezulu to retain his number 10 position. He's also brought in the likes of Lucanio Am, Makazole Mapimpi, and his forwards have also been changed. He's also trying to build consistency in terms of his loose forwards, because South Africa is really blessed with lots and lots of loose forwards, and it's important for him to build now a squad moving into the next World Cup cycle. So it's important for for these two teams to compete on the highest level. And I see yet another opportunity for South Africa, but also Australia is not a team to be counted out, because once beaten, twice shy.
Absolutely. And you talk about Australia not being a team to be counted out. And I think Joe Schmidt, who previously has been with the All Blacks and with Ireland, is onto something. And I think they're going to get a lot more competitive. And it's going to bring smiles on the faces of people like Collins Nabiso. Anyway, away from that, back
They need something.
yeah, away from that, back to the Dala Sevens and the Sportpesa National Sevens Circuit. And hey, this is free. This just happened to be something, one of my precious mementos from my time at Kenya Rugby. But away from that, I dare say that I feel there will be a third different winner of the National Sevens Circuit in Kisumu, and I'll be bold enough to call it as KCB. What's your call, Walt?
Well, I I wouldn't be far off from what you just suggested, because the dynamics changed this weekend with the inclusion of the Kenya Sevens players, and the returning load really changed a lot. But I also want to pinpoint that there's a team that is called Strathmore Leos, and that Strathmore Leos is a customer that once they have the likes of Japolo and Nijo or Maita back, they would definitely be that one top side that can challenge for Dala Sevens. And I believe that we are also going to have a different winner. That is depending on the squads that are going to be named. But I importantly want to point it out that KCB has quite a number of players who are experienced. However much they lost in Kakamega, they have a solid squad, very experienced. They have so many people to call on in terms of sevens, and yeah, like you've just said, I would back you on that end and say this is KCB's weekend to come top, because they missed it last weekend. They have Onyala and Sati coming back, and those two will definitely propel you to victory. So it's important for KCB to have them. And yeah, KCB for me.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great time hanging out with you, Walter. This has been another edition of 254 Rugby. We obviously are going to review these results from the Dala Sevens next week. We're also going to look at the results from the Rugby Championship next week. And just before we go, this is news from last week, but I still feel it's important. Curtis Olago, Cat Baby. That guy is a top guy. He's left KCB. I don't know what to say. What can you say about Kolago the man?
Well, it's important for us to pinpoint that Curtis is one of the most successful coaches KCB has had. That is after Michael Tankutieno.
Walter, he's the most successful, not after. I think I'm sorry,
One of
but
their top guys in Curtis. But
wait,
I believe,
Walter.
I mean, there's always need for change anywhere, Michael, and that sometimes the change propels the team forward. He has won all that there is to win in terms of the local rugby scene. He's done a three-peat for KCB in terms of the Kenya Cup. He's won the local seven series. He's won Enterprise Cup. He's won literally everything. Now he's transitioned to the national team, and uh, KCB have made a decision. We might like it, we might not like it, but at the end of the day, change is always good, and I'm hopeful that KCB will get a strong footing going forward. I know they're looking for a new coach, but it's important for us to point it out that change is good. Now, if KCB have done this, Cabras also did a couple of changes to their coaching unit for the last couple of years. They've had quite a number of coaches come through, and they finally found a winning formula in their current coach. So it's important for KCB to also shake up some of their mainframe and their background setups and their own caliber of play, and try and see what they can do with bringing in somebody new. A new idea is always welcome, and it's important that we back, of course, Curtis at the national team coaching unit, and of course, we look forward to backing Oliver Mangeni and company at KCB as they look forward to the future. So it's important for the two setups.
Awesome. Well, this has been the sixth episode of 254 Rugby. We are on the road, hence the changed background, but that's whatever it is. Anyway, we'll catch up next week as we've agreed, Walter. We will review the Dala Sevens, the Rugby Championship, and whatever else is happening in the world of rugby. As always, it is a pleasure hanging out with you. And if you've got the time, share this video, like, subscribe, and let's get your feedback. We grow together, we grow as a team. This has been 254 Rugby. My name is Michael Kwambo, and this is the guy giving me all the news from Nairobi and from the rest of the Sportpesa National Sevens Circuit. Malizia bwana. Siwezi kupatia
Yeah,
intro.
yes, Michael. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. We're looking forward to hearing your feedback. It's always a pleasure. I mean, coming through, just getting you information about what's happening locally and internationally. Keep it 254 Rugby. My name is Walter Orangi. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me, and hope to see you guys next time. After Dala, that's important, and you enjoy Dala. Tupatane Kisumu.